Alright, Video Game Design 2. We're going to start modeling our characters today. First things first, make sure you have your images set into your Maya. Um, make sure you have a project set up for this. Um, if you don't have either of those things, get it set up. If you don't know how, get your neighbor to help you. Um, so once you get those in, I'm going to set this up just a little bit differently. I'm going to move these images in the perspective view. I'm going to move my front view back some, and then also move my side view uh, as you're looking at it to the left. What that does is in the orthographic views, it gets our images out of the way so we can actually, so our images don't cut our model in half. And in the perspective view, it gives us a nice area to work with without, again, having, when we get zoomed in on something and moving around, our image doesn't get in the way of what we're trying to look at. Alright, so we are modeling our character for Quake 3. Once again, these models are going to be about 1,000 polygons. It can be a little more, it can always be less, but we're looking at 1,000 polygons. And when I say polygons, I mean triangles, because that matters when we're talking about these old games. So first, let me jump in and I'm going to show you some of the modeling tools that we're going to use so that later we can just switch between them and I won't have to explain what each one does. So I'm just going to start out with a cube, scale it up, and then what I'm going to do is over here I'm going to tear off my mesh tools, this whole menu, by clicking on this double line. So I don't always have to go up and click on stuff constantly, but going back and forth between what I'm working on and the model, or the menu. So we have a lot of different things here. Pen to polygon tool we'll get to in a second. The main one, which I know you've heard me talk about, the insert edge loop tool, does a lot of really great stuff for us. So quick refresher, it switches to edge mode for you, and whichever edge you click on, it makes a loop around your model perpendicular to that edge. There does have to be a loop for it to find. Otherwise, if something is off, such as, let's see if I can break something really fast. Sure, I'll do that. So I merged those vertices together. Now, if I try to do that, and say if I click on this edge, it still will go all the way around. I'm trying to break this. Computer, behave. There we go. So if I click on that edge, there's not a loop for it to go around, so it goes around as far as it can. And I don't know if you noticed it or not, my computer's not displaying quite properly, but it should be giving a whole, like a preview of where it's going to cut, and you can click and drag. You can see where the cuts are going to be, with those points there, but it should be showing a line in between. So we can get those cuts in. So that's the insert edge tool. Let's see, the other big one that we'll use is the multi-cut tool. This is it's now a combination of tools. I've been using Maya for a really long time, and they keep moving things and combining things and trying to make them better. And I think they've probably done a pretty good job with the multi-cut tool now. The multi-cut tool lets you cut kind of however you want, but generally you want to stay on edges and vertices. So I can manually go and click and add cuts in where I want it to go. So say if I wanted to make a triangle in the middle of the space, I started on that edge, or on that vertex. I went over to this edge, I clicked and made a cut there, and I can come back, and you can click and drag and it'll snap to vertices. and I can press enter and it'll make that cut for me. The other cool thing, the multi-cut tool combined the cut faces tool. So what I can do is I can click in blank space and drag across, and wherever that line goes across, it'll cut through the whole object. That also works if you have just faces selected. So let's say I wanted, or if you have a particular selection. So let's go on the top and make it a little easier. Say I just want to cut those 4 faces I selected. I can grab my multi-cut tool. I'm going to make it easier on myself and come across here. You can also hold shift and you get a straight line. Or sorry, you can snap it to like vertical or horizontal. It snaps like every few degrees or so. So I can let that go and I can come back, check this out, and it only cut those faces I had selected. Offset edge loop, paint skin, quad draw. The other main one right now, well, we'll do 2 more. We'll do the target weld, and then I'll show you about the append to polygon tool. So the target weld, it does a lot of things, but most of the time you're going to be merging vertices together. So what this does is it highlights kind of the one it wants to select first, and it's basically I'm going to grab this vertex and then move it to merge it with some other vertex, and it's giving me that orange line of showing which one it's going to go to. So I can let go there, and it moved and merged those 2 vertices together. So like say if I had something like this where it was really messy, I can start to clean that up by merging those vertices together, and then I could take it and go somewhere else with it. That didn't go the right way. Well, I guess it did. Just anyway, those normals are looking bad, but this doesn't matter. I'm just showing you how the tools work. Well, so maybe if you got a nice ugly spot like that, I'm going to make a hole so I can show you the append to polygon tool. Alright, so if you have a hole that you're trying to fill in, whether you've made it on purpose or not, you can use the append to polygon tool to fill in some holes. I show you this one because you have the most control of filling in a hole. So let's see, what do I got going on? Okay, so when I selected that tool, it highlighted my border edges. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on one of those border edges, and it shows these purple arrows, and it also highlights all the other border edges now in purple. And these arrows have to do with kind of the way the polygon is facing. And so something like this, I'm just going to click on the opposite edge. So I have 2 edges here. There's an edge here, there's an edge there. I'm just going to click on the opposite one. It's going to make a polygon that goes from this point to this point to that point to that point, and it'll fill it, it'll finish it up. So when I click there, it goes ahead and fills it up. It gives like a little pink preview right here, so I have to hit enter to finish that up. And then I can do the same thing down here to fill in this bottom hole. Now this is just because I have really disgusting geometry because I was showing you those other tools. But if I start with this edge, like each of these is its own edge, so there's no just opposite edge I can click on. I can start there, but it would only fill that much. I can continue to click on these edges in that direction until it finishes up and fills in that hole for me. Something's weird going on with the normals, but that's okay. This is just a junk cube I'm using. Alright, so I'm going to get rid of that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to start modeling your head. I want to see how everybody's progressing tomorrow, so if you don't have something started tomorrow, I will be quite upset. So let's get this going. So I'm going to delete that cube. So using those tools I just showed you, there are more. So if you have trouble with something, check out the other tools in Mesh Tools. Check out some of these operations in Edit Mesh. A lot of them kind of say what they do. If you have a question about one of them, Google it. Somebody online has explained what all these do. So we are, like I said, we're modeling our head, but we want to be very economical with our polygons. So normally I will tell you guys we have to have quads, and by quads I mean four-sided polygons. Actually, I'm gonna get my ugly cube back for a second. So this face is not a four-sided polygon. It looks like it is, but there are four edges here that each make up a side of that polygon, and it matters when we get into like UV unwrapping. If you don't have three or four-sided polygons, the UV unwrapping tools don't like that, and it makes it harder in the long run. So if you can make your model look good, and by good I mean having four and maybe some three-sided polygons, then that helps out a lot. So again, this is not a quadrilateral. It is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a seven-sided polygon, even though four of those sides are all in a row. Yes, go away. I really want you to go away this time. Alright, so I'm going to start with a cube to get my head. So we're going to do kind of a modified box model on this. So make sure you're creating a polygon cube, because otherwise a lot of these modeling tools don't work on those cubes. Let me come down here, and I'm going to start lining this up with my reference images. Now, instead of you can't see my image up here on the viewport. Now you have to do that for each and every viewport, so even if I get to the side, this needs to have its X-ray turned on. So I can do that. Alright, again, let's be economical with our polygons and with our modeling. Well, let's cut our cube in half, and we'll model half the face, and then we'll mirror it over when we get done. So I'm going to use that awesome new multi-cut tool I showed you guys. Cut that in half, and I can delete all of these faces. So I will have an open side to that. That also gave me some inside vertices to work with. So I'll select those and I'll drag them back. I think Mega Man here has some pretty awesome hair. It's got a lot of volume to it. I wonder what shampoo he uses. So because we are being economical with our polygons, we're not going to be able to fit, we're not going to be able to follow each and every single little curve that he's got. I'm not even going to worry about the top of his head yet. We're really going for just his face. So I'm going to just block that in very, very roughly. I can do the same thing over here. Let's get his face going. Alright. And so with box modeling, we do kind of as much as we can until we need more geometry. And I've pretty much done everything I can right now with those 1, 2, 3, 5 faces there. So I need to add in some more. And that's where our good friends insert edge loop tool, and well, that's where it's going to help. So I want to start getting his nose in there. Let me do a couple things. First, I'm going to take that vertex there, and I'm going to put that on the end of his nose. And then I want to take this whole side. Actually, I can grab those edges, and I'm going to start creating the curve of his face. So I'm going to push that back, and I want that to go back behind his eye. And then I can come in. I work in vertex mode almost exclusively. It's just easier that way. I can also start to shape like the back of his head here because of that. I'm still not going to get really anywhere near to the back of his head there. I want to keep this on his neck. I know this is going to be way different for each of your individual characters. It's really about the concepts here. I need you to take the tools and kind of the gist of what I'm doing and apply it to however your model is going to work. Yours may be different from mine. It actually should be. Again, I'm trying my best to match to my reference image. I may not always be able to do that. Okay. Alright, so like I don't have to worry about his mouth. Like we're not modeling mouths here, that'll all be texture. But I can get this section on his nose right there. How do I want to do that? I think I want to just do like my multi-cut tool, and I'll go from that corner to like the middle here, and I will just leave that a triangle for his forehead, which yeah, I'm happy with that, because we're trying to save polygons. None of our stuff is going to have it's not going to have facial features per se. We're getting lucky with that nose. An ear will be a texture, but it would be nice if I can get that jaw going. And what that's doing right there is I'm using these edges to kind of define that jaw shape. Let me zoom in on this. If you didn't know by now, F will frame in on a selection, and A on your keyboard will show all. So it's really quick ways to zoom around. And also what that does when I hit F is it recenters my camera where it tumbles around. So it's a lot easier to look at stuff that way. So what's happening now, what I'm looking at, is that's making the face very, very flat. That may be something we just have to deal with, but let me see if I can get in some extra polygons. So I'm going to cut from this corner down this way to give me something to round that out with. So again, that's a job for multi-cut. By the way, if you're clicking and dragging and you want to get something like right smack dab in the middle of an edge, if you hold shift as you're doing this, it'll pop up and it'll constrain to every 10%. That's always handy. I'm not going to worry about this bottom polygon. In fact, I can delete it. I'll deal with that later. Leave that open. I think the neck is going to be part of our torso, so I really don't need any of that. Alright, so now I can take those vertices, pull them out sideways a little bit. Let's see how's this going with our thing here. So again, trying to match up with my image as much as possible. Over there. That'll be a good anchor for the neck later. It's all about decision making here. That's okay. If we need to come back and redo things, that's perfectly fine. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time around. Alright, so I still want to have a decent edge flow. So like this edge loop here. I don't like that it's making such a sharp turn right here. I'd rather that go more or less straight back. And if I need to get some polygons back later, I can always come back and shrink that stuff down. So it's better for it to be more of a gentle slope this way versus taking a hard left and going out that way. So just this one, please. Alright, so hopefully you can see where I'm going to have my neck come down or come into. I will go ahead and start getting that closer to my drawing there. I'm going to leave the spikes off the hair for right now. So maybe it's better to have a line coming from this vertex all the way back instead of just having that cut in there. So let's give that a try. Actually, this is time for another really cool thing I can show you guys. Instead of just getting the multi-cut tool and just click, 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 click like that, what I can do is under the select menu, there is the multi-component. So if you go to select and then under polygons components, you can select multi-component. So I can select vertices and edges and even faces at the same time. And by doing that, under edit mesh, and then under component, there's this connect. It's different from this connect, but this is one we want to use whenever I use connect. I use the one from edit mesh, not the mesh tool. And what that does the exact same thing, just does it automatically for me. Then I can come back and move this stuff around. Again, I don't want to be concerned with this, but I might use that eye as an anchor, the drawing of the eye. So yeah, that gets me going over there. There we go, and I'll scooch this over. So sorry, let me explain that a little more. I'm using that corner of the eye as an anchor to make my geometry a little bit better. But also when I go back to UVing, I'll know that that's exactly where that eye needs to go to look good on the texture. Oops. Normally, I would go and get rid of this edge here. But like I said, we're doing Quake, we're doing 1,000 polygon models, we're doing 1,000 triangle models to be exact. So it's cutting a quad into two halves, into two triangles, so that's fine. I can also, let me get that multi-component. I'm going to do the same thing we just did and go up this way. So select that vertex and then these two edges and connect those. Alright, again, sorry, I have to do it, it's a habit. I'll put them back later. I promise. And that's going to let me shape my head a little better. Again, I'm trying to ignore those extra spikes. They're not going to do me any good right now. Yeah, he's got a big freaking head. I'm going to have to make another split or something to make that look good, because otherwise it's going to be bad. Alright, I'm going to check my poly count right now. So to do that, we're going to go to, I forget, where is it? Display, sorry. So display from the top menu, go to heads up display, and then one of the options is poly count. And then up in the top left hand corner of, actually it's each viewport, it'll give you the number of vertices, number of edges, faces, triangles, and UVs and whatnot. So my number of triangles is 28. And this is how many I've selected. Don't know what that third column is. So this first one is how many are in the scene. This one is how many I have selected. That's why that changes when I have my model selected versus not. So I'm at 28 triangles. Actually need to double that because this is only half of his face. So 50 something. 54, 56. So yeah, I have a decent amount to play with still, so I could probably round out the top of his head a little more. I think his chin is pretty much done. If anything, I probably want to, if I could actually get that jaw shape, that might be good. I don't have to. Even just something, if I bring that in and maybe back somewhere. Again, we're talking about edge flow. You want to be careful with, sorry, I'm moving my laptop. You're trying to get comfortable if that's picking up on the microphone. So even right here, between these two edges, you want to try to make, or unless you have a reason, you want the two neighboring edges like this one and this one, they need to be about equal length. So right here, these are not equal length, and I don't have a reason right now. So I'm going to grab that vertex, and I'm going to scooch it back and then over. Actually, I'm going to use these cool things and just slide it in like that. So like here, these two edges aren't equal length, but my reason is because it's describing that jawline. I could actually move that back some. That'll work. I like that lower. Sure. Alright, so then that's making this look weird. So it looks good on this side view here, but in 3D it looks kind of bad. And that's because if we look at it from this end, those are not equal, so this needs to be... This also helps you round out objects a lot more. So if you're finding, like, hey, my model looks really funny, looks really lumpy, try to get your edges a little more even. Alright, so I'm going to have to deal with this hair before too long. I think my ears are just going to be a texture. So probably what I'm going to do, this will be interesting, is I'm just going to extrude like all these faces. Even those. I'm gonna leave this alone because it's part of my face. But I'm just going to extrude those faces. Edit mesh, extrude, wherever it went. And again, I think every time I make a video I'm going to remind everybody of this. Whatever happens, if you accidentally click off, those faces are still extruded. Don't reselect them and extrude again. That leaves some zero edge length, or that makes some faces with some zero edge length in between, and that again does really bad things. So if you accidentally click off Command Z, you'll get it back. So I'm going to give him maybe a little bit of an afro, or that's what it's going to look like for now. I will need to go back and delete these faces. Oh, and that one too, because I want all of that, well, all these vertices to match up on the inside here. I'm going to hold X to snap to the grid, and it's alright. My retain component spacing is on, so I need to go into my move tool settings just by double clicking on it. Under move snap, do not want to retain component settings, component spacing. So now I can snap all those to that axis. Alright, so that extrusion gave me a little bit more to play with. I guess I'm just going to work my way out. I'm going to go from the ear and then back around the back of his head. Actually, I'm going to merge that back in. But I need to get to that big puffball of hair he's got. So where's that going? Maybe, actually this should be, again, I'm talking about even spacing. That's not even spacing. I was trying to get it where the ear was going to help me out, but it's really not going to help me. I want that to go to the edge of his hair, so I may need to move that back some. That may have to change. Alright. So the extrusion did kind of a little bit of weird stuff for me, but that's all right. Alright, so I want to go ahead and merge this edge back. Sorry, I want to merge these back into their original spots. So again, target weld tool. The target weld tool actually can do edges, but I don't quite trust that yet. I guess that's right. Cool. So you can do edges as well. You can do a lot of stuff. I guess you can't do faces. Yeah, primarily I like doing that with vertices. I like to have that amount of control. What else happened? Let's get the edge back here. Yeah, because when I extruded that went out a lot. But then so I want this to kind of be my outline of the side of his head. Yeah, I want one more division going that way. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna merge these vertices back in there, and then I will cut a line. Maybe just like that. Again, I'm trying to use the least amount of polygons that I can. Trying to describe this shape as little as I can. That's making some interesting stuff happen. Alright, actually, learning time. Right here, this face, because it's a quad, every computer program breaks down your polygons into triangles, no matter how many sides there are. So if we're looking at it like this, yeah, it looks like a pretty good quad. But if I turn it like this, I have a dent. There's a dent in his head. So this is a really good time for me to tell the computer, no, I really want you to split it from this corner to this corner, not the opposite way, which is what it's doing right now. So I can manually go in and say, no, I want those two triangles instead, and it'll split it the other way so I don't have a dent in my head. Sometimes you can play around with the placement of your polygon, of your vertices like this, which maybe probably would have fixed my problem instead of having to cut in myself. But learning moments are awesome. I'm not sure this is working with this amount of polygons. Working low poly is interesting. It really gives you a appreciation for what the game developers used to do and how they were limited with their resources, but still got something that was super fun to play. Alright, so what was happening was I wasn't happy with the curvature of his head. And so now I'm trying to find out how to make him not so flat foreheaded. Where do I want to cut this line in? I think I'm going to have to undo some of that stuff I just did. Whoops. Sorry, I blipped on my spacebar there. So get rid of those two polygons. Yeah, see, just repositioning those vertices helped the program figure out where to go. So I think I should go from this corner over that way. And let's push some points. Yeah, it's looking a lot better. Alright. Thinking that might be enough to get you guys started. Yeah, I will definitely do a lot more work on this. Yeah, go ahead and get started on y'all's heads if you haven't already. And I will see you guys on Tuesday.